Hello and welcome to this episode of Pause with Nandini on NRI Affairs. I'm joining from Mianjin, the unceded lands of the Yagera and Turbar people, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. Today, I am extremely honored to have a very special guest. My guest is Mr. Zia Ahmad, who is a very cherished member of the Humanism Project, which is a great wonderful diasporic group of South Asians, and he has become the first Muslim to receive the Medal of the Order of Australia for services to journalism. And what is even more astonishing is that he's the second member of his family to receive the nation's highest civilian honor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Nandini, for having me, and I'm really honored to come on your platform in RI Affairs. I've got good read, their writings and their news and all that, and they're doing a great job. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just give a little bit of a background because I'm sure most people know, your body of work. You've been in the community for so long, but you are best known as the editor-in-chief of the Australasian Muslim Times, AMUST. It's the country's leading independent Muslim newspaper and news portal, which was founded with your father in 1991. So it's been quite a journey. And as we just discovered, you and I both went to school in Srinagar. So I'd love for you to trace your journey. It's not possible to do it in the course of one interview, but if you can trace something of your journey from Srinagar, waking up at 4 o'clock and studying with your father, to now receiving the highest civilian honor in Australia.
Yes, sure. Look, my dad studied in Aligarh Muslim University, and he topped in engineering from there, first class first. Then he became a lecturer there. Then Dr. Zakir Hussain, later to become the president of India, he was the vice chancellor of Jamia Millia Islamia, which was just developing, at that time. I'm talking about 1950, around that. And later, around about 56, 57, he invited my dad, look, I want you in Jamia rather than Aligarh. There's a lot of people in Aligarh. You come and help us in the engineering college. So he moved there. Then he did his master's from USA, came back. And then we went on the invitation of one of his Kashmiri students, engineering students, to Kashmir in summer. And this was around July 62. And we went there and we loved the place. And so then my father found out that was a regional engineering college. And then apparently he saw that there was a vacancy, in the engineering college for a senior lecturer. So he went for an interview. Dr. Zia Ahmad, same surname, not related to us, was the principal, a veteran, very sort of a old PhD engineer, one of the first PhD in engineering in India. And he was a veteran astronaut engineer there. So he interviewed him, and he basically decided on the spot that he's going to offer the position to him.
How
And
wonderful.
then we arrived in Srinagar in October. And, coming from India in October, it was starting to get very cold. And towards the end of October, it started snowing and all that. So that winter, although engineering college was closed, winter holidays and all that, but my dad decided to stay there. So we spent our first winter, and the only first winter there ever there in Kashmir, and had a good time there. So I started in year five in the primary school in what is called the Tyndall Biscoe Memorial School. Uh, it was a Protestant school, and I thought, it was founded by Englishmen or something. But later I came to know, in fact, came to know when I came to Australia, that was actually founded by an Australian, and his name was Tyndall Biscoe. And his grandson is actually an academic in Canberra at ANU. And I'm very keen to sometime meet him and, talk about it, because that school actually really molded my personality. Uh, you know, and of course, the school had, a lot of people from Indian Army kids there, and of course, Muslims. So, Hindus, Muslim, Kashmiri Pandits, Sikhs, everybody there. Um, Academically, it was a second best school. Burn Hall was the first one. But in extracurricular activities, it was just a top school of India. And actually, I haven't seen such a good school anywhere else. I've visited many countries. It had its own swimming pool, large one. It has, of course, boys and girls sections separately. We had our board shed in Dal Lake, and we have to swim, at least 3 periods in a week, and compulsory swimming. Then half a day in a week we have to go to the boat shed and do boating there. Even when it would be very cold in October as well, it was just they really made you tough. And
Yeah.
cross country running, will run from the school to Shankaracharya, the temple there, and they really pushed you. We have
Mm.
sore tummy and everything, but so the motto was a little bit sexist, in the sense the motto of the school was "In all things be men." Which I thought, later on, I thought that wasn't a very good motto, but that just basically said, you have to be very tough. And we used to have also 7 day camps around, in the mountains.
Amazing.
And we had it within the Indian Army sometimes as well.
Sure.
And I've actually climbed all the four peaks, top peaks in Kashmir, because monitoring all that, we were trained for that. So this is all in the school.
That's
So that
amazing.
school is just amazing. And in fact, 2004, I went to Kashmir with my daughter and wife, who are both school teachers, and I took them to the school, met the principal there,
How
and
wonderful.
they were amazed at school. It's still very nice and clean, and still
Beautiful.
very well maintained. That 2004 last time we visited. So I really give a credit regarding my personal to the school in Kashmir, and we had a great time there. Loved it really.
Wonderful. And so then at some point, your journey brought you to Australia, and your father started the magazine. Did it start first as a magazine, or did it start
Yeah.
as a
So,
daily?
so there was some issues in Kashmir. My father was head of the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Then he was vice principal, and he had a chance to become principal. But there was a bit of a tall poppy syndrome in Kashmir. And then when you were very popular and started to get a little bit more powerful, then people didn't like it. So he was
Mm.
suddenly sacked by the state government, because the school was actually board of governors. The chief minister so he was basically sacked from there. And then he came to IIT Delhi, but he was, although he was a very young, still a very young man, and became full professor at the age of 33. But he was finding it difficult to find a job because he was sacked.
Mm.
It was difficult to
Mm.
survive. So he had his passport, because he did his master's in the USA. Passport was ready, and he contacted his colleague at Sydney University and managed to get a scholarship to come to Australia. And he arrived in March 1991 by himself. And as soon as he arrived, he was on student visa, White Australia policy. But as soon as he arrived, he decided, he was an orphan child raised by his grandfather. And so he decided that he wants to live and die in this country now. So with the help of a judo master who had converted to Islam, an white Australian guy, he managed to contact the local MP, and the visa was converted within 3 months into a migrant visa. And then he
Okay.
sponsored us. We had our interview and everything there. And a funny thing, which I must relate as well in the interview, my mother could not speak English very well. So I was translating it, and the first secretary who was actually interviewing us, he said, "Look, asking a few questions," and then he said, "Ask your mom, would she be wearing a sari when she goes and live in Australia?" And my mom was, simple woman and says, "Yeah, I've worn sari all my life, and I'm going to wear the same in Australia." And so that was a bit bizarre, but that at that time the idea was of whether the people are the new migrants, are they going to fit in and
Yeah.
assimilate with Australian culture and all that. So that was White Australia policy was there. So I think that's a very landmark thing there. Anyway, now the day we had our flight, we were living in Aligarh. We went to Delhi to basically stay overnight in a friend's place. And the morning we were supposed to go to airport, the war between India and Pakistan over Bangladesh started. Okay,
Oh,
the same morning with jets, hovering and all those things. And we basically just, I think we were ready to go to the airport, and we just stayed. So all the flights canceled, nothing there. We came back to Aligarh, and my father was just dead worried. What has happened? All this thing there, we were worried, and we didn't know whether the war is going to last a few months or a year. But lucky for us, I don't know for others, but lucky for us, it ended up within about 3 weeks or something like that. And
and
so
then you could come.
we rebooked our flights, and we arrived just a few days before Christmas.
Yes,
And
winter seems to be a time of arrivals and departures in your life.
yeah, so it's amazing, and so we can hear Christmas festivities were there. It was a new world for us, a new sort of Christian society or Western society. Very exciting. Um, Now, another thing which may be interesting to you as well would be that we used to speak English very well, because we went to an English school and had no problem. So I was really confident about it. So my dad said, "Look, go to the corner shop." We were living in Redford, close to Sydney Uni. And can you go to the, corner shop and get some dahi, curd, just curd. But here in Australia, it's called
Good.
yogurt. So you say yogurt, don't say curd, they won't understand. I said, okay. So I went there and asked for, can I have some, curd, please, yogurt, please? And he said, what? And I kept on repeating 5 or 6 times, yogurt,
Good.
yogurt, yogurt. You don't understand. I said, okay, look, I'll write it down for you. So I wrote it down and he goes, oh, you mean yogurt? And I said, yeah, that's what I've been saying. Oh, no, no, you were not saying that. So then I realized, oh, gee whiz, that my English with the Indian accent is not going to work very well here. And, and I need to learn, but my English is still stayed very Indian because, I was attending to school here. However, my siblings did shifted between Indian and
Sure.
Australian accents very well. But that gave me a little bit of a got a bit depressed about it that I need to adjust with the English language. So now when my father arrived here, he was a self-studied Islamic scholar as well. Not really Islamic scholar. He studied different languages like English, Urdu, Arabic, and Persian to understand different religions and philosophies from their own, English poets and everything. So he spent after engineering, passing the engineering for 5 years. He actually studied all these things in a sort of a like a hermit, with some other colleagues. And then after that, he graduated and he said, I wanted to know everything from the original sources, not from people, but from their own writings and textbooks and holy books and all that. And nobody can now tell me, what each religion talks about. No more we can tell me, how to behave as a Muslim. So he became very confident as an Islamic scholar as well. Um, so when he came here, he was really excited because apart from his professional profession, doing his research and all that, and of course looking after the family and finances and all that, he he thought, oh, gee, this is a place where people are from different countries, different faiths, no faiths, atheists, and Muslims of different sects and as well. Not that Muslims were a large community here, very small, but the diversity was there. So he started engaging from day one with all these diverse people. And I was 18 years old at that time. So he used to take me along with him to all these, places. He used to go to churches, synagogues, and we'll go there, and the time for prayer will come, and they say, "Oh, would you like to pray?" And we will pray in the church according to the Muslim prayer. So we sort of found people very friendly, very understanding. They didn't know much about Islam at that time because they were not engaged with Muslims. But the dialogue started there, and that dialogue 55 years ago still
Yes.
continues.
I know,
And
yes.
I have actually continued his legacy, and I'm dealing with diverse communities and interfaith people, and that's really a pleasure.
No, it's a journey, and it's very fascinating to hear how it began for you. And it's almost like your story is almost the story of an entire generation that came at that time and built their lives. One of the things now, of course, that we are seeing is that multiculturalism itself is under some sort of strain from various forces, various faction. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's religious, sometimes it's cultural. One of the things we have been talking about in our circles is that is it time to move from multicultural to intercultural, where there is far more exchange between communities? It's no longer enough to say everybody's in their own way, and that's fine, but there's a real need, especially with younger people, to create more dialogue between our communities, because people tend, in I think in times of stress, whether it's financial or social, people tend to withdraw into their own kind. What is your view on this? You've seen the journey for many years.
Yeah, so soon after our arrival, Whitlam came into power, and he was a revolutionary. He abolished the White Australia policy. Medibank started free universities for everybody. All no more fees. He did a lot of work. I think that we have benefited from that. And from that, of course, our family, we have to import our spouses from various different places, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the family grew. And then we sort of, wanted to sort of enjoy this, multicultural. How do we do it? So one thing we instituted, which is will be very interesting for you, is we thought, okay, how do we celebrate Eid? Now, Eid for the large Muslim communities basically were the Lebanese and the Turks who came late 60s and 80s. Not many from India, Pakistan, and all that. So we had this idea of celebrating Eid in India, where it was more a festival than a more a religious sort of thing. So, or in addition to religious place and all that, it was festival. So when we used to go to, Eidgah, we didn't pray in mosque. We used to go to the, large. Every city almost in India had this large Eidgah, where twice a year you'll go and pray there. And over there used to be all these, merry-go-rounds and all those things there, and there'll be sweets there, and on the way back, actually, we used to go to the Hindu sweet shops and buy the sweets because they made the best sweets. I've got those childhood memories and all that of Eid. So here we were basically went to prayer, and there was no mosques at that time, so we had to hire a hall or something like that to pray. And after that, people went to work, came back, watched TV, and that was the Eid.
Mm.
So in early 80s, we thought, no, let's do something else with that. So the idea, one of my brother-in-laws, in fact, he's from Banaras, India. He said, "Oh, why don't we do a Eid festival, something like that?" And so the other dad was very sort of although he was like a godfather, controlling the whole family and very very strict and everything. Um, and So but he was very receptive. He was a very democratic person, and gave importance to young people, their ideas, and especially women. He really involved women in every activity and all that. So he said, okay, why not? Although he was more a scholar than a community person, or he was very busy in establishing communities and organizations and institutions here, very much in the forefront. But he said, okay, that's good. So my wife used to work at a primary school in Bonnery. So she asked the principal, can we please use your school to, do a festival on the weekend after the Eid? And they said, okay, yeah, sure, we'll go ahead. And we started Eid festival with about 20 stalls, 2,000 people.
Oh my God.
The Arabs and the Turks had no idea what an Eid festival was. Nobody knew anything. There was no Diwali. There was no Indian or South Asian festivals at all at that time. We were the initiator of this. So what we did was basically the village fair idea in India. We brought it to Australia. We
Beautiful.
Islamized it, and we Australianized it basically. So it was all volunteer based. We had our own jobs, and we were busy, two jobs and business and studies and all that. But so my father was involved us in all these different activities. Didn't give us time to sit on the beach at all. So so we started with that, and then the response of the people. We got about maybe 2,000 people or something in that,
Amazing.
and people had tears in their eyes. Said,
Mm.
"Oh, first time in our life,
Yes.
and these are mainly, Turks and Lebanese I'm talking about. First time we're enjoying the festivity of Eid. And that was the day we started doing it because that putting smiles in the faces of people and especially kids, that was the day. We have continued that festival for 41 years. Would you believe it? And,
I think you've been an interculturalist long before the
yeah,
word
exactly.
talked about.
And the thing was that Uh, we're from India. I mean, basically, our family was India and some, married into Pakistanis. Um, but this festival was not for our community because we didn't have any Indian Pakistani. It was for the diverse Muslim community. And later on, when there was, this Afghan war and Iran and all that, terrorism and all that, we thought, oh, this festival can be a vehicle and a showcase of Muslims living in harmony and showcase of Islam with peace rather than Islam associating with violence. So we over the years we shifted to Fairfield Showground. At one time, the peak used to be about 30,000 people coming to our festival. In early
That's
90s.
crazy.
Yes. And then and so we made it a sort of not only for Muslim but for Muslim, and a lot of Indians and
Yes,
other people because they culturally they could have get all the food and everything there.
of course.
Grew up, and so that is another big contribution which we did in terms of
Wonderful.
cultural, or you can say, the word you used was a very interesting keyword, intercultural sort of thing.
Interculturalist.
And that's a
Yes.
legacy, again, of my father, I would say, that just still continues, and we still hold it at the Refugee Showground.
I
This
think
year
it's
we had it.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes,
so and a lot of people come to that, people of different faiths, and we especially ensure that a lot of mainstream Australians come there, and people. So it is an icon which is still going there, and again, that is the intercultural part of our work.
that's wonderful. I really think that, more of this kind of activity that involves sort of like an all of society approach is the way forward. So you have all of society participate in various things. Um,
I think that's what that is important because sometimes people work in silos.
yes, yes,
Muslim community, Lebanese in Lakemba, the Turkish tribe in Auburn. I'm talking about Sydney,
mm,
and they tend to sort of huddle together. I think the way we wanted to do it because we didn't have Indian Pakistani community with us, so we had to move into other communities.
you have to borrow friends.
Exactly. So we I think that's one thing Australia gave us, that we need to work in an inclusive way. We
Yes,
just can't do things just by Muslims, for Indians, by Indians, but rather be inclusive
yes,
of everybody. So, and the projects we have, the MEF festival, Eid festival, and even the Muslim Times, of their name says Muslim Times. But believe me, from day one, the way we have produced this newspaper is for everybody. At some stage, we thought, oh, should we change the name to make it inclusive? But then we thought that's important to have a sort of communities work. I think for advertising and all that, to have that name is important. But the way we write, more than half of our subscribers, you won't believe it, are actually
yes,
non-Muslims. And
mm,
the way we write stories are actually so that it can be consumed by mainstream Australia as well.
yes.
So
And
I think that word is very important, to be inclusive. And I'm not talking about assimilation and all that. You still keep your cultural and religious heritage and all that, but don't close yourself or your
mm,
activities to select few. Keep it open.
yes.
Keep it open for everybody.
With my work with Hindus for Human Rights, we try to do inclusive events as well. We do interfaith Holi, interfaith Diwali, interfaith everything. Whatever we do is open to everyone, and I completely agree with you that that's the approach. One thing
Actually,
I did,
I have attended some events from Hindus for Human Rights and Diwali, and whenever these days actually it has been falling. Last couple of years it has fallen during Ramadan.
yes, it
So
does.
I got the invitation, but I could not attend it. But we have attended in the past some of the
Yes.
events and really enjoyed it as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to move a little bit to, we've spoken about faith and, all of that space. Now you're a biochemist. Yes.
Yes.
So you're a man of science and you're also somewhat, I would say, the degrees, but a man of faith as a Muslim. You spoke about forging these relationships between communities and people of faith, people of no faith. What do you think in terms of bringing people of faith and people of no faith or agnostics together? Sometimes finding those common values can be some work, and finding because there for people of no faith, sometimes they can look at people of faith as saying, oh, you've got your superstitions, or you believe in like a sky angel or whatever, so there's a little bit of banter, and Australia's famous for banter anyway.
Yeah.
So when do you think that people can actually engage across these divides?
Yes. So I think if I go to my own religious tradition, our holy book and the practice of the Holy Prophet in Medina in itself, we actually found that he was very inclusive. There were Jewish communities there. There were pagans, Arabs there. There were some few Christians there. So the idea which Prophet has was not to just convert everybody. He actually, what we call now the Constitution of Medina, he developed, I think, one of the first constitutions where people have their right
Mm,
to follow their faith, but they were actually part of the community
mm,
of the city state in Medina. So my religious tradition as I understand, and as my father has understood and practiced, was very inclusive, where you engage the people of different faiths and no faith, and pagans, Arabs were idol worshippers, and you gave your views, and then you left it to their choice, whatever they want to practice, how they want to do it. But as a community, you engage with them. So I strongly believe there's this bigotry which some
Yeah.
people, religious people might have. I don't think Islam basically teaches that or even tolerates bigotry that way. Um, and then my father, he was very practicing Muslim and all that, but his students, Hindus and Sikhs and Muslims in Kashmir, I came to know even later on because they corresponded, and especially after he passed away, they sent their comments. These were we actually published in AMUST from Sikhs and Hindus, and how they actually loved that as an
Mm.
academic of a very broad-minded. And same thing here. He engaged with people, especially Hindus and Sikhs because of our Indian sort of thing,
Yes,
and
yes.
he did not discriminate in that. And we got some very good friends, long-time friends in Sydney who are from Hindu and Sikh communities. Um, so, so I think that I don't think religion itself, but especially Islam, gives this idea of bigotry of excluding anybody. So that's my sort of understanding as it is, and of course that's one of the reasons I joined that humanism group,
Yes,
which
humanism.
I really love. Among all the groups I have, I love humanism group. Okay, we started with a few people. Harun actually brought me in, Dr. Harun, and this was the time there's Citizenship Act and all those things were coming, and what
Yes,
we do.
I know.
So he said, Zia, can you join us? And now we've got a quite a large group of people, Christians, Jews, Sikhs, and people of faith and no faith as well.
Yes.
And but I love engaging that group and with the group and view their voice. Sometimes they may be different to mine, and sometimes some people might actually even criticize me. Sometimes I put some AMUST stuff there, and I get a criticism that why is this guy propagating his religious articles and all those things. But I've got a thick skin. I don't get offended. Believe me, sometimes. And people do put comments in there. Some couple of people who have put there, ridiculing, that they believe in the what you call that something in the sky and
In
elephant in
the
the sky.
sky or in
Yeah, that's those comments. So I just laugh it off. But I said, look, that's
yeah,
their view. That's fine.
yeah.
I don't mind. People who are atheists but we can still engage in, for example, in terms of India, Indian pluralism, justice, equal opportunity, inclusivity. We agree on that. That's fine. But some of the things we
Enough.
don't agree, that's fine as well. So, so, so that does not mean that we leave that humanism group or because of
Yes.
somebody said this or somebody does not agree with that. And I think we have become persevered with that for a number of years, and I think that group still goes on very well. I'm still happy with that, and
No, you're right. You're right. And people should have the opportunity to air their views, even if sometimes, it can be a little bit abrasive to other people. As long as you're not being personal and you're not being rude to people in a very deliberate way, a
yeah,
little bit of banter is all right.
yeah,
So, yes, I wanted to ask you this. Now, you speak so much about your father, and I can obviously tell the great influence that he's had on your life. And now you also have daughters who are very closely connected with your work, with your ideals. And you come in this big family. Did you say the 80 members of your extended family? What do you think? Some of our questions now in our communities is how do we maintain some sort of a intergenerational communication? Like you said, I was very interested to hear you said your father, even though he was very strict, was quite democratic. He would listen to people, he would listen to women. What are your views on intergenerational communication? Because you're sort of the sandwich generation in your own way, right? Because you've got your children, you had your father, and you're kind of managing all of these different impulses, culture, and also that sense of some people more closely connected to their birth countries because they've come here later in life. And then your children who've probably lived and grown up in Australia have a different view of their own identity. How do you balance all of that?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. Um, there, yeah, as you said, that my father was very democratic, and especially I think he did not discriminate between males and female, which was very sort of, sometimes, Muslims can be very paternalistic and all that, but he was very broad-minded in that. He really encouraged his daughter-in-laws and his daughters to come into the leadership positions in many of our organizations because we were also busy with our jobs. They will become the president and things like that, and he will let them run the organizations. And that sort of ideas, I sort of got into that as well. I had a son who passed away early at the age of 18, um, but I've got four daughters, and but in spite of, I'm not saying that having daughters influenced me, but from the very beginning, I was very much into advocacy for women and equality and all that. And sometimes they called me as the male feminist, would you believe it? And I've written one or two articles on that as well. So they used to nickname me as the male feminist. Um, so so as far as the male female is concerned, we had no problem in all of our organizations and the work we have done in the past. Now, intergenerational, that's a very interesting one. So my father was an orphan. I don't think he knew much about family because his
Everything.
grandfather has only two kids and his father had only two kids. So, in Indian family terms, it was a very small family. And
Mm.
his father died early, and so he basically remained aloof from our ancestral lands in Azamgarh, UP. So he grew up, but it's amazing. We sometimes really wonder that how he established a very large family in Australia.
Mm.
And people have visited us from US and UK, dad's colleagues and friends and all that, and they are really surprised. They said, we have never seen this sort of thing in anywhere in our visits in the Western countries. How you guys have developed a family structure which goes on for almost, 45, 50 years. And so what he did was, apart from working in the community and various different levels in the universities and building institutions, he organized the family itself on a
Mm.
very formal basis. So we
How?
so we established an organization called Australasian actually Australasian Integrated Family. And
Okay.
yeah, so we had made a constitution of elections and everything, minutes and everything. We were all, my father and his daughter, son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws, and all that. And later on, as people increase, um, we'll have formal meetings. Another thing which he started was a study circle every week. Everybody has to give priority to this. Let the community know that on Sunday evening from 4 o'clock till 8 or 9, we don't go anywhere. This is our family time, extended family time. We don't go to weddings, we don't go to dinners, we don't go anywhere else. We have to come. So it was very strict. Everybody has to come to that time there. So we instituted that in 1982. Now what, 43, 44 years ago. And you won't believe it, that family study circle still convenes every week in our place.
That's
Okay.
incredible. Do
Uh,
you study books or what are you
no,
studying?
so it is about a 2-hour program. Okay. Initially, when the family was a little bit smaller, we used to have dinner as well every week. But then it became a little bit difficult. People have to go, children have to go to school and all that. So we did that dinner now once a month or once a term now. And where basically my father will give a motivation talk. Whatever, one week he had some ideas and all that. It wasn't strictly religious as well, but he will, give some lessons from the Quran and things like that. But it will be general family stuff. And then he encouraged our second generation to do presentation, give talks about issues in Australia, issues of family life, difficulties having any racist issues, and all those things there. We will talk. Now the third generation now, they are actually giving these talks now because we have stepped back our second generation, and of course the fourth is there as well. Some kids are growing up. So what that provided, a platform where three or four generations will come to the table and
Talk.
meet every week and talk. And sometimes, family feuds, and they are still there, I mean, we will
Oh,
sometimes will have differences and things like that. But those differences did not made us to go away from the table. So every week, even I had, my brother-in-law, I got to be critical about him about something, he got a bit upset. But next week, he was there.
to meet.
So yeah, and then everything we just forgot about all those things. So in that, so 1 week what we call is family. Sorry, 1 week will be a studies circle. The other will be a business studies circle where we had our committee meetings, our organizations, our newspaper meetings, and all those things. So that worked. And another unique thing will be very interesting to know that we build a purpose-built house for this. Okay. Yes. And so we were living in Hurstville before. And then my dad said, look, do you want to live together? We were three sons. Okay. Daughters were there, unmarried, they were living with us. But later on they moved out. But still, the son-in-laws and they were still a part of the family coming there. But living wise, he said, look, three sons, mom and dad, their families was growing. Do you want to live in separate houses or you want to live together? He said, look, if we live together, we are a missionary family, we can do a lot of community work together. Then we don't have to, run around to different houses and all those things. So we decided, all right, yes, we live together. We bought a very large land, okay, and we built as owner builders. This is the beauty of Australia, that my father was a mechanical engineer, brother was a graduate from New South Wales University, civil engineer, and we actually built a purpose built house in Borneo in the big land, okay, with 12 bedrooms, four semi-independent three-bedroom sort of units on three or four corners of the house, large living areas, kitchen, a dining room with about 26 chairs, garden, mango trees, and swimming pool and offices. Uh, Huge place, huge place. And since we had no mosques and all that, and we had to pray 5 times a day in lounge room, people put the mats up, take it off, take it off. So we actually built an in-house mosque. So in the middle of the house, there's a like a we call it musalla or a small mosque, and praying around. And that was, I think, a crystallizing factor as well. When you're talking about the intergenerations, so there was a place where these people from three and then later four generations could come every week, and they're still coming. And it was very good experience for my elderly mom and dad. They lived to the age of 90s. And had, they did go on to wheelchairs later in life. But mentally, both
So wonderful.
both of them was very sharp. They could see the whole family, 40, 50 people coming every week there. They were,
How full their heart must be.
yeah, and celebrating, Mother's Days and birthdays and all those things
Wonderful.
every week,
Wonderful.
some celebration. And I think that has kept that intergenerational thing. And our children grew up in that sort of environment where they were, talking with grandpas and grandmothers and eating together and all that. And another thing which one person pointed out that, we used to hold the multicultural festival in Fairfield Showground. And early days, there used to be a German festival, Holland, Dutch festival, and all those things. Slowly, those festivals basically died out.
Mm,
Okay. And then one day, this guy, the manager of the festival ground, said to me, Zia, I wonder, all the other festivals have died out, but you guys have been continuing this for so many decades.
how?
And he said, no, he answered it. You know why? Because the other culture, other festivals were mainly based only on the culture and language. Okay. Now, as the new generation grew up, they forgot the language and their culture. And so those festivals died out. It's a dual festival because it was based on faith. And
Mm,
faith continues, even those cultural practices do die out because of the new generations. Your third and fourth generation are still continuing with that, and they're really enthusiastic. And when the festival time comes, all these extended family, 80 and actually now by marriage and all that, we have got now married to Gujaratis, and we are from UP, but Gujaratis and Bengal, recently Bengalis as well. We are married to Bengalis and Gujaratis and Hyderabadis and everyone, and
national
they all join
identity.
in that festival. So when you come there, there are four generations from little kids to older people in the 80s. They are working in the festival. And then I think that point you was talking about intergeneration, I think that has been the success story in that terms of
Great
the
thing
way we
to
have
hear.
developed. Yeah.
And such a unique thing because more and more, like you see people going into like atomized lives, they say small nuclear family. And here you're sort of reversing that trend
Yes.
and showing the benefits of that. It's wonderful. Um,
Yes.
I've taken a lot of your time, but this has been really, really engaging. One thing I do want to know, I'll kind of link two questions together.
Mhm.
What is this OAM? I mean, what you've told us, of course, it's great to have an honor, but you yourself are so honored in your community anyway, right? It's wonderful, of course, that the government has recognized you. What does that mean to you, and what does it mean for the larger community? And a linked question to that is what are the things that we're doing well, and what are the things that we could do better in community?
Sure, sure. Yeah, look, since I started the Muslim Times, and of course, the festival itself, we've received some awards from the premier regarding the festival. The festival has been recognized a few times itself. And also, the newspaper platform, as well as myself personally, we have received a number of
Wow.
premiers, what we call communication,
Multicultural. Mul-
multicultural communication awards. And in fact, I got the lifetime award as well from the premier on that. So, so, and of course, in the Muslim community, there are Muslim Achievers Awards as well. We have received, the newspaper has received a number of those. Personally, myself, even my graphic designer, my daughter, she has received a number of awards as well from Muslim community and some from mainstream as well. So I think sometimes and uh, you are recognized within your community, but I think when the recognition comes from
outs-
the mainstream Australia, I think this is at a different level.
Yeah.
And with that OAM, I think that I feel much more honored in that way that mainstream Australia, this country which I call home, has recognized me and recognized my contribution, not only to my community or religious community or ethnic community, but to the country itself. And I think
Mm.
that's what OAM stands for me. Um, Now, I still feel that Australia is a multicultural success story. Look, I have traveled the world. We are a travel family. When I was very young, I wanted to travel the world, but got married at the age of 23 and so could not travel by myself. Then I thought, oh, I still want to travel. I'll take my whole family. So I've taken my, you know, at one time 5 children, now 4 children, sometimes their spouses now, my parents. We have been motorhoming for 3 months in US, for 1.5 months in Europe. We have visited African countries, Southeast Asia, especially many times. So we travel a lot. Now I have found this country, believe me, the best country to live and grow your family. When I come home and flying back to Australia, I really feel this is my home. And I feel that, for this country, I need to do something. And that's what I'm doing. What I can give back to this country. It has
Yeah.
given me a lot. So, relatively speaking, sometimes we do talk about, anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and racism, of course, those against Indians now. There are a lot of negatives there, but sometimes we forget the positives. There are a lot of positives there. And I remember recently, a couple of weeks ago, there was an interfaith program in a synagogue. Um, and me and my wife were invited there, very strict security and all that, as you can stand in Bondi. And we were talking about Islamophobia and there were panel and all that. And they were relating some incidences where, some woman's scarf was taken off and some rabbi, good friend of mine, Rabbi George, he said that, he was abused at some place, that you're getting money from Epstein or something. So this sort of thing, which was very hurting to him. And so they were relating to this. So there were question time. And I said, okay, look, can I just ask a question? You have talked about instances of Islamophobia and discrimination, and there was actually an Indian Christian priest there as well. And so, but what about her? Can you describe some positive instances where she actually got a lot of support from?
Mm.
Because I have experienced a lot of positive things from the society, mainstream society as well. And they all actually instances, yes, we have.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that sometimes, especially our younger generation, uh, tends to think very negative things about Australia because they're born here, raised here, and they've not seen the world. So they can't see the relative peace and quiet and equal opportunity and those things which that this country still offers. This still offers the freedom of expression. I can still write whatever I feel like, which I can't do in many Muslim countries, and now in the US and all that. So I think relatively we have to see that what are the good things, and of course what are the negative things. Pauline Hanser's upsurge that is concerning to all of us. Um, but we have to play. We can't just sit still and just enjoy here. We need to be proactive and ensure that this country remains and even becomes even better, peaceful, harmonious society, and work with like-minded people. And there are a lot of like-minded people like
Yes.
us. We need to engage with them. I mean, I'm engaging with people, Hindus and Christians and Muslims very well, and I've found some very good friends, not only in the Muslim country community, but in elsewhere, who
Mm.
are who are very much interested in cooperating to make sure that this country remains a very peaceful, harmonious society, and we can give this message to the rest of the world, which is in
Yes, it is
turmoil,
possible.
where we can actually say, okay, this is the success story of harmoniously living, and we can pass this legacy to other countries who can actually copy us.
Wonderful, wonderful. Building bridges across borders.
Exactly.
This is
Exactly.
a wonderful message. Thank you so much for your time and congratulations once again on your wonderful achievement.
Thank you, Nandini, for giving me the opportunity, and it has been a pleasure talking to you. And
Like,
we hope to keep this, communication alive.
Absolutely, always.
All right. Thank you so much.